Dr. Matthew Falder.
Matthew Falder showed no emotion.
Manipulative, cunning, and
29-year-old Matthew Falder, a Cambridge graduate.
He's one of the most sinister individuals, I think, in the 23 years of law enforcement I've ever seen.
It's been absolutely devastating. He's wrecked lives, he's torn people.
Today I'm going to tell you one of the most terrifying, sinister and disgusting stories on the entire deep web. When we're talking about the deep web, we're not talking about the big search engines like Google, Yahoo or whatsoever. We're talking about the deep web. I'm going to tell you about a person, one of the most insane people in modern history. His name is Matthew Falder. Now, let me warn you, this video contains sick and crazy story. The story about a person who has done a lot of sick and unpleasant things. Have you ever heard about the term hardcore? I'm not saying hardcore, I'm saying hardcore, H-U-R-T. Well, hardcore is a term used for super extreme porn that is based to pain weak people, children and even babies. This monster, born in Manchester, England 33 years ago, comes from a very wealthy family, very intelligent. He was at the top of his class, with the best grades. He turned down Cambridge to attend Oxford, where he received his PhD in geophysics. Friends and family will describe him as a very charismatic and friendly. He was even in a relationship, just an average person who never displayed any psychopathic tendencies. Having said this, we can continue indeed with the typical profile of a nice person, not at all the imagine of a psychopath, because usually a psychopath person becomes from a broken home, a person that has been either abused or bullied. Normally, people who do bad things has been doing it since childhood, which in turn they grow up having mental issues. So what we have here is an average young man by day and a sexual predator by night. Before I begin talking about all the terrifying things that the sexual predator did, let me tell you that he spent almost 10 years victimizing women and children. 10 years avoiding capture. Those are many years for any criminal of his kind. This led us to understand that this individual is very clever. With his knowledge about internet encryption, he posted his crimes online without fear of prosecution, afraid of nothing. It all started when Matthew was 19 years old, showing interest in the dark web, becoming infatuated with extreme pedophilia websites, befriending the same sick people that share his twisted mind. But then he grew tired of just looking these sites. He wanted to become the main charter, the most important person in that environment, especially in the website Horde.core. This is where the sickest people meet. They share the most bizarre videos depicting the human sex. I mean, the worst of the worst of the worst. Videos of children getting robbed, beaten, even babies. This is the worst. The most aggressive, vile denigration type of things. So when I'm talking about extreme, I'm talking about hardcore. Hardcore is so perverse that even well-known pedophiles avoid it. This is without doubt the highest degree of depravity that human being can reach in sexual territory. In my opinion, this is not even sex. Even in the paraphilia standards, no, it's not. This is absolute words. One cannot sink any lower. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the video Daisy's Destruction. They're the same people that say that the video about a woman who mistreats a girl named Daisy is an urban legend. Well, that video is real. As a fact, the person who made that video, Peter Scully, is in jail.
Give me your name.
Peter Scully.
We have 6 warrants for your arrest.
The ill mental criminal who is in jail, the founder of the page Hard.core, about who I'm going to talk in the next videos, Matthew David Graham, known as Lux.
An Ankeny teenager is behind bars tonight, accused of downloading child pornography from the dark web.
Who is also in jail with Peter Scully. But let's focus back in Matthew Falder, because this is material for a lot of videos, okay? So let's focus back in Matthew Falder. Matthew got tired of just watching videos. He started to get the desire to make his own movies. The desire for prominence, of being recognized and revered. This master plan works for almost 10 years, and he published the material that he created. Matthew saw his victims via internet. He preyed upon the weak. He would set up fake accounts and even pose as a woman named Liz. This was very nice and showed herself with a great empathy. She had the capacity for manipulation and managed to get the root of the people problems. He almost achieved what he wanted. But what he wanted? He wanted risky photos. What I mean is he wanted nude photos. He would start out by telling them that he needed the photos for an art project, always offering something in exchange. For example, there was a girl in an orphanage who wanted a dog. Now, she wasn't aware that she was communicating to Matthew. He was going by his predator named Liz. She confided to Liz that she was being bullied at the orphanage. He assured her that he or she will buy a precious puppy for her as long as she sent him nude photos. And she did. So did many of his other victims.
No, I didn't tell anyone because I was really ashamed, and obviously you heard what the pictures were like. They were awful. I didn't want any of my friends to think that I wanted to do that.
Once Liz will get the photos, his personality will change completely. Matthew, will become aggressive and demanding. When his demands were not met, he will threaten his victim by telling them he will post their photos on their internet, so their families, friends, schoolmates, co-workers will see them. And he started to demand more hardcore nude pictures in extreme position.
He emailed one teenage victim, "I wanted to offer you two choices. A, you take some more photos for me, slightly different from before. B, I get upset, and instead of sending money, I send printouts of all the pictures you have done to your address at many points in the future, in envelopes that your mother is likely to open." The girl was 15 at the time.
Most of his victims were young. It's well known that the youngest one was only 13 years. Can you imagine putting a 13 years old girl in a social situation? A situation in which she has been manipulated to share her private parts, and that son of a bitch is manipulating her to get more and more?
They were awful. I didn't want any of my friends to think that I wanted to do that.
I'm going to tell you some of the things that Matthew requests his victims to do on video and in pictures, all legitimate, of course. He will ask his victims to send him videos of them licking their own faces, drinking their urine in public bathrooms, such as a McDonald's or public stations, subway stations. He will also ask them to eat dog food or take pictures praising Hitler or other racist message. Matthew really enjoyed manipulating other people to record themselves rape other people, especially their daughters. One of his victims raped their own baby. He never physically touched any of his victims. Everything was all done online. He places hiding cameras in public toilet stalls at the university so he can use it as blackmail material. These are some videos of how he places the hiding cameras. But remember, he never touched any of his victims, especially the girls, because for him was a relation of power. He felt powerful with this. And I'm pretty sure, 100% sure, that he wasn't doing this for only sexual gratification. He did it just for the power. Much like a sadist, he enjoyed the feeling of having absolute control, a feeling of superiority of those people who have problems. So he's without doubt one of the most evil people that I've seen in my entire life, my whole life. Because this son of a bitch received message from the people that he dominates, and they told him they could no longer continue with what he asked. They felt like committing suicide. They say, "We're going to commit suicide if this continues. Please stop. We cannot more do this." His victims were at the breaking point. Always his response was, "If you live or die, I don't care."
Upset, and instead of sending money, I send printouts of all the pictures you have done to your address at many points in the future.
And this is a recent story. We're not talking about something that happened in the 18th or 19th century. Absolutely not. I mean, no, absolutely not. This is something that happened just a few years ago. This psychopath terrorized and tortured between 16 and 120 people. And I bet that you are wondering about where were the police? Well, the police had several reports and complaints about it, but the police were unavailable, powerless to track him down and match the puzzle, because everything that he has as a bad person, he has as a genius. He encrypted everything that he did. There was no way to track him down. Even the most intelligent psychopath always make the same mistake. Arrogance. He was feeling outstanding, superior than the police. He started to be a little bit negligent, and he came into contact with the girl again, posting himself as Liz again. He asked her for some erotic pics for work. He was offering her around £1,200, around $1,648 US dollars. The girl was so horrified about that she said no. Matthew, displeased, texted her back and sent her some photos and videos of extreme pedophilia. The girl collapsed and said, "There's not such a famous person called Liz. I'm going to report you. I'm going to call the cops and they're gonna cuff you." And that was what she did. When he sent to her one of those pedophile photos and videos, the arrogance blinded him and gave him away. Because with one of those pedophile photos came out Devil 666, one of the 70 alias he used to use. The other two most used by him were Kindergarten and Evil Mind. Now we are in 2015 and the Scotland Yard, together with the Interpol, print an arrest warrant for the person who called himself Devil 666. The police start looking for the other nicknames similar like Devil 666 and track him to his apartment. On June 21st, the police finally entered to the Matthew apartment and, of course, meet Matthew in the place.
Offences that I've arrested you on suspicion of being involved in were blackmail, causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity, possessing indecent images of children.
Sounds like the rap sheet from hell.
Distributing indecent images of children, and causing GBH injuries to a person.
In the apartment they found absolutely everything that you can imagine. All kind of graphic material, where there were thousands of photos, videos, all kind of explicit content. Matthew was sent immediately, of course, thanks God, to the dungeons. The trial was quick. He was sentenced to 32 years in prison. That seems really short for me, if you ask me, because I think, to be honest, I think that kind of people must be in jail for their entire life without possibility of being free. My only relief is that I know how inmates treat criminals like Matthew. I'm sure that the thousands of things that he has recorded are short compared to the things that the other inmates are going to do with his ass. As a final note to talk about how twisted his mind was, the police found a conversation saying, "One of my biggest dreams will be able to break all the bones of a baby one by one, or be able to use a small baby and throw darts at him." This is a little advice for the the youth. Never ever trust someone on internet. Never ever give them your private information. Never ever send risky photos. And if you do that, even if you do that, please be sure that you know this person very well, because even well-known persons can be dangerous. These stories show us that the deeps of the soul of an evil human being is the worst and most terrifying that you will find. Don't forget to subscribe.